Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Well, it's your Thursday, Friday, Monday guy, and it's Daytona Bike Week 2024. So I was out riding a little piece. I had to go get gas. That's why Miss Sandy wasn't with me. But I'm glad you're here for the Bible study. Hey, so it's going to be a brief summary of what we're going to do. We did the first 6 chapters of Isaiah. Remember we talked about that, and then. We're going to start Ecclesiastes. I have a friend of mine who wanted he was saying, hey man, how about the next time you do Ecclesiastes? It's kind of a hard book to do, but at the same time, it's very relevant. And I talk to him on a weekly basis, so I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So I started reading Ecclesiastes and came up with a little summary of what we're going to be learning about and who it was written by and those kind of things. So who it was written by was a guy named Solomon, and Solomon was King David's kid. And you guys remember King David? He was the guy who, when he was a child, he slew the giant Goliath, and then he, oh boy, what else did he do? Well, he committed adultery with that one lady and sent her husband out to go get killed. Yeah, it was kind of a bad thing. So he's that guy. So that was David, and he had a kid with what was her name, Bathsheba, something like that. Anyways, I think is that who it was? Anyways, so he had this kid, and they were told by a prophet to name the kid Jedediah, which means like the Lord's blessings on this guy, and that's King Solomon. So King Solomon's other name is Jedediah. So he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, and he reigned from about 970 to about 931. He actually took the throne while King David was still alive. And we remember at the end of King David's life, he was kind of a mess anyways. Well, he had PTSD, we assume. And, okay, you're gonna hold the sign? She's gonna hold the sign for me. And, but the thing we want to remember about King David, now King David, he was the king during hard times. And so during hard times, men will step up, and the Lord appoints them, and they step up and they help secure a better future. And when easy times or good times happen, a lot of time weak men are the ones who are in charge, and they bring hard times. And Solomon, he wasn't the weak man. I think that's coming, but Solomon lived in a time of unprecedented prosperity. It was a united time of Judea, and the lands were plentiful, and all that stuff's going on. And so Solomon's ruling during that time. And basically, what you're going to come to find out when we do Ecclesiastes is that I can go down. I wrote a little list here. And it's just to cover a few things. So everything is in vain. So it's going to start out. It starts out really on a terrible note. Yeah, I almost said it. Anyways, but it starts out on one of them notes, and so he's saying that everything's in vain. And then in verse 2, it gets a little piece better when he says, "I hate life." So I mean, in chapter 2. Let's see, chapter 3. Oh, there's a time for everything. That's chapter 3. Y'all be familiar with that one. 4, oppression. 5, coming to worship. So I gave them little summary names to each one of them. 6 is the evil that weighs heavy. The evil that weighs heavy. Yeah, I'm guilty of that one. So covetous behavior and that kind of thing. And that's probably why, that's why I'm selling my motorcycle, because I exhibited covetous behavior with it. I tend to pay more attention to that. So like most of the times, if you said, do you want a cup of coffee, or you want to go do Bible study first and we'll go eat, or get a cup of coffee, or do anything else, I would say, yeah, let's go do the Bible study, and then we can go. You know, my wife asks me every morning, what do you want to do, Bible study or this? And I always say Bible study. So because I want to start the day on a good note. And then plus, if you're given the option of worshiping God and you have time, which we should always have time, but you have the time, so who might have passed it up? However, here's the answer when it comes to, you want to go for a motorcycle ride, you want to do a Bible study, and I'll go. So the pause in and of itself tells a lot, right? Because everything else I'm like, yeah. And then when I think about my motorcycle, I'm even looking in the direction of where it's parked. It's parked back that way, so I look over at it. I exhibit covetous behavior with this. And so Ecclesiastes, we're going to cover a little bit of that too. Worshiping in good times and bad, that's 7. Joy in the land, 8. 9 is going to be a common destiny. So did you know? Did you know? I like when Jesus says that because it means you don't know. Now, if I say it, I'm not that smart. I'm not smart like Jesus, so I'm not going to say, did you know? And it's something that you really don't know or that you should know, but you're an idiot. Yeah, no, with me, it's just going to be, really? That's my Tourette's dog. So mine is, did you know that we all have a common destiny? And we're all heading to the same place. Now, those of us who believe that afterwards they're going to meet God and have judgment, that's what we believe. And those who don't believe that are still going to have to do that. So, but we all have a common destiny. And then the heart of the wise is 10. Waiting for the perfect time is 11. Rhema. I mean, seriously, she's not barking at anything. She just has Tourette's. She's a Tourette's dog. So, hey, everybody in the neighborhood knows you're here. So, waiting for the perfect time. That's chapter 11. And then chapter 12, a message to the youth. Remember God, for one day they will grow old and be judged, just like the rest of us, because going back to number 9, a common destiny, right? But most of the time you're not thinking about that. So this message to the youth is a pretty good one. So there's only 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. It was written by Solomon, who was the king. He was probably one of the wisest kings, right? So we know. And we know, like I said, he's David's son. I don't know much about their relationship, but think about this. You got PTSD dad. He ain't doing so hot. And he's got some things going on with some ladies. He's, I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm not proud of my time being PTSD dad, but I had my own time where I was suffering under some afflictions. And I have a lot of friends who've been in the same boat. And until you come to the realization you're not the only one that's been through that. My dog, she has to go under the picnic table instead of, she's just doing weird stuff over there. I call her the great distractor. Anyways, but with David, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. So PTSD dad, he's probably not the greatest dad in the world. And we know Solomon, he's this gift to the people. So it's kind of a good book. A lot of people, when you say we're going to read Ecclesiastes, go, oh, because they don't like it. But let's see. There was like one other thing. So yeah, the overview. The title of this book comes from Hebrew word that means one who holds and addresses an assembly. It doesn't sound very exciting, right? Solomon begins by stating that all of life without God is vanity. Well, that's pretty true, but I'm not going to get into one too much. And when they say vanity, they're talking about life is vain. And it's true. Life is vain without God. But I mean, it's one of those books when you tell other Christians that we're going to study that, a lot of times they do, because nobody wants to be told that, first of all, nobody likes Isaiah. That's why I chose that to be the first one. Let's just be honest. No one likes Isaiah. Why? Because Isaiah tells you, guess what? You're going to go to hell. Or he says, you're doing the wrong thing. People need to be told that sometimes. Like a little kid, you wouldn't let a little child stick a pin or a fork into a light socket. Or remember when we used to have light bulbs? I know everything's LED now, but when we had light bulbs, you don't lick your fingers and stick them in the hole. That's something your older brother tells you to do that to watch you get knocked across the room. I didn't have an older brother, but my friend David was an older brother, and I'm sorry, Kevin, if you still stutter. Anyways, that's not the point, okay? The point is that we don't encourage people to do the wrong thing, and so no one likes Isaiah. Now, in Solomon, he writes Ecclesiastes, life is meaningless apart from God. No one wants to hear that because they want to go back to coveting the crap that they are coveting. People want to covet stuff, all right? So, and we know this because we're all doing it. Don't tell me you're not. We're not living like John the Baptist. No one said you had to, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, enough with the, like, you know, the arguments. Okay, so how much is too much, Joel? I'm not saying the last name or anything, but hey, Joel, how much money do you have that you would be like, oh, I got so much money, maybe I should give like a lot more of it away because I'm living in debauchery. So that's what that becomes. No one wants to be told about their debaucherous lifestyle, but when you get upset that your coffee isn't exactly something temperature, you're off your nut a little piece, bro. Go to Afghanistan or one of those other countries where there's Christians hiding in basements and they're still eating dirt with their food. You take a different perspective, okay? And they're grateful for every little morsel that they're getting. So in Ecclesiastes, we hear Solomon, and he's going to tell us some of his wisdom, man. And when he does that, I mean, for a rich guy, he's a really smart guy, because he knows that with all the money that he has, it doesn't buy happiness. So that's kind of a good summary for that. If we were going to do a summary, but we're just starting out, and it's going to be fun. I'll make it a little piece entertaining, and I know one of my friends is looking forward to doing this, and there's been a couple people that said if you want a challenge, do Ecclesiastes. So here we are. Let's see if I can make this I don't want to make it entertaining, and that's what I'm saying. That's not the goal of any of this. The goal is to see that I don't bore you to death when we're talking about the Bible. Because it's not a boring thing. People think that, how can you get passionate about something that happened so long ago? Because we're not. We're living it out. We are living this out. If you read this book, look, and I want to shout it to the world. If you read this book, you will see that exactly what happened. I have a child who believes it's another gender right now, but in Deuteronomy, that's covered. That's way a long time ago, Deuteronomy. Okay? I'm not saying that the child is right or wrong. I'm not trying to pass judgment on the child. We already know, if you're a Christian, you know my perspective. So it's not to call that person out. The point is to say, hey, it's an old problem, or it's an old issue, whatever, however you want to say it. Besides that, if you really look at it, I don't care what's on your outer shell, whether or not what your nationality or your whatever is, and all these people with the identify as, you guys are full of horse shit, because the point is that you have an eternal soul. The Bible is broken down into Gentile and Jew. It doesn't say color of skin and all that nonsense, but I can assume, here's a Robert thinks, all right? Robert believes, Robert knows. Robert thinks that some of these guys could have been of color because they're coming from Ethiopia. Just saying, so if you have a problem with somebody's skin color, you're so far off your nut, you don't belong watching me or anybody else. You probably need to go back to reading just the Bible and then figure out that we go into it, it's Jew and Gentile, and then after that, we're trying to make Christians, right? So we push forward into Christendom. And I just was talking about with somebody, that's the first place they were called Christians. What was that? Antioch. So my homies from the Berg, or my homies from the Yock, Antioch was actually a historic place that was the first place people were called Christians. Okay, getting back to Ecclesiastes though. No one wants to do it because you don't want to hear that you're living in sin somehow. But we are. And how do you take care of that? You have to repent. And I repent daily. I do, because I screwed up. Yesterday I got so mad at some dude on the internet saying something about me, and I was like, you know what? Okay, well, I'm sure that you have something wrong with yourself, because whatever. And he tried to big cheese it, and basically I told him that he had a small penis. So, that his issues probably stem from something like that. He has some kind of, I'm not masculine enough, I have to bully Christians. And I just told him, dude, you can't push me down in the parking lot, I know that you got other issues going along, big jacked up truck or whatever. I have a truck that's not risen. Jesus was risen. But you know what I'm saying? So when we're talking about Ecclesiastes, we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that doesn't sound great. But it's coming from a guy who is King Solomon. He's the king. He's got everything at his disposal. So if someone with everything at their disposal is giving you advice on what really brings happiness, and he says you can't find anything without God, like nothing makes sense without God, I'd listen to him. All right. Well, hey, I got to get going. Like I said, it's bike week, and I think I want to take Miss Sandy for a ride before it gets too dark. She don't like to ride in the dark, and I don't blame her. And we aren't going to go too far because right now you can. It's supper time, so at supper or dinner, whichever you guys do that, you can go for a brief ride. If you're a local, you can go for a brief ride right now while everybody that just came here, they're eating. All right, so we go for a brief ride and get back home real quick. Otherwise, then the nuts come out, and then after that, the drinkies come out, and you don't ever want to be out at night on a motorcycle at bike week after everybody's been slamming them, because it just gets, ew, it's ugly. It makes you want to vomit yourself. All right, hey, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. He might be in the next lane, and you got to change that lane and all that stuff, all right? Go ahead.